Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving headfirst into a rivalry that's got more layers than a Midwestern onion. Indiana Hoosiers versus those Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah, and on the surface, it's that classic underdog story.
Oh, absolutely. Gotta love that David versus Goliath vibe.
But there's more to it, a lot more.
Oh, yeah. Way more than just wins and losses. We're talking history, tradition, two totally different programs clashing on the gridiron.
Yeah, what's fascinating right off the bat is how different these programs are.
Yeah.
They represent two totally different approaches to success in college football. You got Ohio State, built on a legacy of national championships and, Heisman Trophy winners galore.
That's true. It's true. You can't talk Ohio State without mentioning those legends, right? Archie Griffin, the only two-time Heisman winner in history.
Yeah, for sure.
Eddie George went on to just crush it in the NFL.
Right, but it's not just about those individual stars, though.
No.
It's a system built on recruiting the top high school talent year after year, coaching staff that knows how to develop that talent, and that culture where winning is just expected.
So it's like this self-perpetuating machine.
Precisely.
Okay, so Ohio State, it's like this well-oiled machine. They're just designed to win.
Right.
But then you got Indiana.
Yeah.
And they've had their moments.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But how is their approach different?
Their approach is less about just overwhelming talent and more about maximizing the potential of what they got.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more, because I know Coach Tom Allen's been building something special there.
Right.
Especially with that whole LEO philosophy, love each other. But how's that actually translating to wins on the field?
That's the key question, right? LEO, it's not just a catchy slogan. It's about creating a culture of unity, resilience, and accountability. Coach Allen believes that when players genuinely care about each other and buy into that shared vision, they can achieve things they wouldn't be capable of individually.
So it's like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
You got it.
They're trying to build a team that's just mentally tougher, more cohesive, even if they don't have that same level of raw talent as, like, say, an Ohio State.
And it's a strategy that's had a real impact. Remember, this is a program that historically has struggled to even reach a bowl game,
right,
let alone compete for Big Ten titles. But under Coach Allen, they're starting to shift that narrative.
It's fascinating. I love it. These two programs, they represent such different philosophies.
Yeah.
It's like two scientific experiments running side by side.
Right.
Can you build a dynasty purely on talent and system? Or does genuine team unity and that never-give-up attitude actually level the playing field?
Yeah, and that's what makes this rivalry so compelling.
Oh, for sure.
It's that clash of styles.
Head-to-head.
Yeah, a test of which approach can ultimately prevail in the, crucible of college football.
All right, so we got the big, powerful program in Ohio State, the scrappy underdog in Indiana, each with their own distinct identity, their own way of doing things. But I'm guessing when these two teams step on the field, those philosophical differences got to translate into some pretty interesting matchups, right?
Oh, absolutely. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball. Ohio State, they're known for their explosive, high-scoring offense.
Wait.
They've consistently had some of the best quarterbacks and wide receivers in the country.
Oh, yeah.
Think about guys like C.J. Stroud, Marvin Harrison Jr. They're almost impossible to contain.
So if you're Indiana, how do you even begin to slow down an offensive juggernaut like that?
It's a daunting task, for sure.
I bet.
Indiana's defensive strategy has often been a mix of trying to disrupt Ohio State's rhythm with aggressive blitzes and disguising their coverages to confuse the quarterback.
So you try to create chaos.
Yeah.
Make it hard for them to get comfortable, execute their game plan.
Right.
Almost like, is it like Indiana's trying to play chess while Ohio State just wants to play checkers?
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It really highlights that strategic battle that unfolds in every game between these two teams. Indiana knows they can't just line up and try to match Ohio State's athleticism.
Great.
So they got to be more creative, more unpredictable.
I love to see. This is where it gets really interesting for me. We've talked about the contrast in programs, the different philosophies, but I want to hear about those moments where it all comes to life on the field. Are there any specific games that really capture the essence of this rivalry?
Oh, there are plenty, but if we're going to truly understand this rivalry and how it's evolved, we got to go back to a game that shocked the college football world, Indiana's 1967 victory.
Wait, Indiana actually beat Ohio State. I thought that was practically a law of nature.
It's rare. It's rare.
Tell me about this upset. It must have been huge.
Oh, you're telling me this wasn't just any win. This was during Indiana's Rose Bowl season, a year where they defied all expectations and made history.
Wow, to think that Indiana, a program that's often struggled to even make a bowl game, actually went to the Rose Bowl, beat Ohio State in the same year. Okay, I need details. What were the circumstances? Was it a fluke? Was there something special about that Indiana team?
Well, that's what we're about to find out. But before we get there, let's rewind the clock a bit and set the stage for this monumental upset. It all starts with understanding the context of college football in the 1960s. In the 1960s, college football was a different beast.
Oh, bet.
The Big Ten was arguably the most powerful conference in the country. And Ohio State, under legendary coach Woody Hayes, was a perennial powerhouse.
Woody Hayes.
Yeah.
That name is like synonymous with Ohio State football. Wasn't he known for that fiery personality and that iconic hat he always wore?
Exactly. Larger-than-life figure, demanding coach.
Oh, yeah.
Instilled a culture of discipline and toughness in his players. Ohio State under Hayes, that was a team you simply didn't expect to lose to, especially not to a team like Indiana.
So you're telling me that Indiana, in their Rose Bowl year, managed to topple the mighty Ohio State, coached by Woody Hayes. Okay, I need to know how they pulled that off. What was the game like? Was it close? Did Indiana just completely dominate?
Well, the game itself was a defensive struggle, a far cry from the high-scoring affairs we often see today.
Yeah.
Final score was 19-14.
Ooh, 19-14.
Indiana holded on for dear life in the final minutes.
That's a nail-biter. I can only imagine the tension in that stadium as the clock ticked down. But what were the key factors? What allowed Indiana to pull off this upset? Was it their defense? Did they manage to shut down Ohio State's offense?
Defense was definitely a huge part of it. Indiana's defense, they played with an intensity and discipline that seemed to rattle Ohio State. They forced a couple key turnovers, and their defensive line, they were able to get pressure on Ohio State's quarterback, disrupting their passing game.
It sounds like that LEO philosophy might have been a factor here. Did that underdog mentality, that sense of unity, that resilience, you think that gave them an edge against a team like Ohio State, a team that was probably used to just steamrolling over their opponents?
That's a fascinating question. It's impossible to know for sure what was going on in the minds of those players back in '67, but it's certainly plausible that Indiana's team chemistry and their belief in themselves played a role in that upset victory.
So you mentioned this game was part of Indiana's Rose Bowl season. That must have been an incredible year for the Hoosiers. What else can you tell us about that season? What made it so special?
Well, the Rose Bowl was a huge deal back then. It was considered the pinnacle of college football success. And for a program like Indiana,
Right.
it was a once-in-a-lifetime achievement. They finished the regular season with a 9-1 record.
Wow.
Their only loss coming against Purdue in the final game.
So even though they lost to Purdue, they still went to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
How does that work? Didn't Purdue also have a shot at the Rose Bowl after beating Indiana?
Yes, but back then, the Big Ten had a rule that prohibited a team from going to the Rose Bowl in consecutive years. Purdue had gone the previous year, so even though they beat Indiana, the Rose Bowl bid went to the Hoosiers.
Wow, that's a rule you don't see anymore, so Indiana gets to go to the Rose Bowl after this historic season that includes a victory over Ohio State. What was the Rose Bowl experience like for them? Did they manage to pull off another upset?
Unfortunately, the Rose Bowl didn't go their way. They faced off against the powerhouse USC Trojans, led by legendary running back O.J. Simpson, and lost 14-3.
Oh, so close. But still, what an accomplishment for Indiana to beat Ohio State and go to the Rose Bowl in the same year.
Right.
That's something that Hoosier fans are probably still talking about today.
Absolutely. It's a testament to what can happen when a team comes together, believes in itself, and plays with heart and determination.
It's a reminder that even in a sport dominated by powerhouses like Ohio State, anything is possible on any given Saturday.
Exactly. That's why we love college football. Right. The upsets, the drama, the moments that defy expectations.
Okay, so we've established that Indiana can pull off the upset, but let's be honest, those victories, few and far between.
Yeah.
For the most part, Ohio State has dominated this rivalry over the years.
For sure.
Yeah, is there a particular game that really showcases Ohio State's power and why they've been so consistently successful?
Well, if you want to see offensive fireworks, a game that went down to the wire, look no further than the 2012 matchup.
Okay.
This one ended with a score of 52-49.
52-49. That's not a football score. That's a basketball score.
Yeah.
Tell me everything. What made this game so memorable?
It was a back-and-forth battle from start to finish. Both offenses were clicking. Quarterbacks were making incredible throws. Receivers making highlight reel catches.
I can only imagine the atmosphere in the stadium. Were you there? What was it like witnessing this offensive explosion in person?
I wasn't at that particular game, but I've seen plenty of footage and heard countless stories from people who were there.
Yeah.
They described it as an absolute roller coaster of emotions.
It must have been hard for fans to even catch their breath with both teams trading touchdowns like that, who ultimately came out on top. How did Ohio State manage to edge out Indiana in such a high-scoring affair?
Ohio State ultimately won, but it came down to the final seconds. They had a late-game drive that culminated in a field goal as time expired.
So even in a game where Indiana put up 49 points, they still couldn't quite get over the hump against Ohio State. Seems like that's been a recurring theme in this rivalry.
It has, but even in those losses, Indiana has shown flashes of brilliance and a willingness to fight until the very end.
That's the thing about rivalries like this, right? Even when the outcome seems predictable, there's always a chance for those moments that surprise you, those plays that make you jump out of your seat.
Absolutely, and that's what keeps the fans coming back year after year. It's
Yeah.
the hope, the anticipation, the possibility that this time something truly special might happen.
Speaking of special moments, I know there was another game in recent memory, the 2020 matchup, that had everyone talking even though Indiana ended up losing. What was it about that game that made it stand out?
Well, for Indiana fans, this game was a source of both pride and heartbreak. They lost a close one, 42-35, but they put up an incredible fight against an Ohio State team that was considered one of the best in the country.
What was it about Indiana's performance that made it so impressive even in defeat? Did they have like a specific player that just had a breakout game or something?
Their quarterback, Michael Penix Jr., had a phenomenal performance. He threw for almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Wow.
He was making throws all over the field, extending plays with his legs, keeping Indiana in the game right to the very end.
So even though Indiana didn't win, this game felt like a statement.
Right.
They showed that they could go toe-to-toe with a national championship contender, and we're just going to roll over.
Exactly. And it's interesting because even though Penix has since transferred, that game felt like a turning point for Indiana's program. They proved to themselves and everyone else that they could compete at the highest level.
It's almost like that game, despite the loss, gave Indiana a sense of validation.
Yeah.
Showed that they were on the right track, that Coach Allen's LEO philosophy was working, that they were capable of playing with the big boys.
You could feel the shift in energy around the program after that game. There was a sense of belief, a confidence that they were no longer just the lovable underdog, but a legitimate threat in the Big Ten.
Okay, so we've journeyed through Indiana's historic upset in '67, relived that offensive explosion of 2012, witnessed Indiana's valiant effort in 2020. Each of these games tells a different story about this rivalry, about those contrasts and styles, those moments of brilliance, the enduring hope that just keeps fans on the edge of their seats.
And what's fascinating is that this rivalry is more than just a series of games played on a field. It's a reflection of the cultural landscape of the Midwest, the history and identity of these two states, and those passionate fan bases that fuel the fire of this competition.
Now you got me thinking about the bigger picture. What is it about rivalries like this that capture our imaginations? Why do we invest so much emotion in the outcome of the game, especially when it involves our alma mater or the team we grew up rooting for?
Those are great questions, and I think they get to the heart of what makes sports so compelling. But before we dive into that, let's take a step back and consider the cultural context of this rivalry, because it's more than just a game. It's a reflection of the region itself.
Yeah.
It really is. When you think about it, this rivalry, it goes way beyond the football field. We're talking about two states that are geographically and culturally intertwined.
Yeah, for sure.
There's this shared history, a sense of Midwestern pride.
Yeah, it is. It's like a sibling rivalry, isn't it? But you compete, you argue, you maybe even tease each other a little bit. But deep down, there's this bond, connection that can't be broken.
Right.
So you're saying that this Indiana-Ohio State rivalry is like a microcosm of that larger dynamic between these two states.
I think so.
It's a way for fans to express that regional pride, to channel that competitive spirit into something fun and meaningful.
Exactly. Think about all the traditions that have built up around this rivalry, the tailgates, the pregame festivities, the generations of families who've made this game a part of their annual rituals.
Yeah.
It's more than just watching a football game. It's about connecting with your community, sharing an experience that transcends the sport itself.
It's almost like a cultural touchstone, right?
Yeah.
It's something that brings people together, gives them that sense of belonging. And in a world that can feel increasingly divided, those shared experiences are more important than ever.
Couldn't agree more. Now, let's shift gears a bit and look ahead to the future of this rivalry. College football is in a constant state of evolution.
Right.
With conference realignment and the expanded playoff format, shaking things up. How do you see these changes impacting the Indiana-Ohio State dynamic?
Well, I think for Ohio State, the goal remains the same. National championships.
Right.
They're always going to be in the hunt for that playoff spot, for sure. But with the playoff expanded, the margin for error gets a little smaller.
Yeah.
They can't afford to slip up, especially against a conference opponent.
That's where Indiana comes in.
Right.
They're no longer content with just being a spoiler. They want to establish themselves as a consistent force in the Big Ten, a team that can challenge for conference titles. And what better way to prove their legitimacy than by knocking off the perennial powerhouse in their own division?
So the stakes are getting higher for both teams.
Yeah.
For Ohio State, maintaining that dominance, proving they're still the kings of the Big Ten. And for Indiana, taking that next step, showing the college football world that they're a program on the rise.
Absolutely. And this brings us back to that question that's been lingering in the background throughout our deep dive. Will Indiana ever break through and defeat Ohio State again?
It feels like we've explored so many aspects of this rivalry, the historical context, the contrast in styles, those unforgettable moments. But that one question just hangs in the air.
Yeah.
It's like it's the ultimate test for Indiana.
Right.
The final boss they need to defeat to truly prove their arrival.
It's the dream, isn't it? For Indiana fans, it's about more than just winning a game. It's about conquering that psychological hurdle,
Right.
exercising those decades of frustration, finally stepping out of the shadow of their biggest rival.
Man, it would be a seismic shift in the college football landscape if Indiana could beat Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
It would send shockwaves through the Big Ten and beyond. It would be a statement that the hierarchy is changing, that the underdogs are ready to challenge the established order.
And who knows, maybe that victory is just around the corner. We've seen how Indiana has steadily improved under Coach Allen.
Yeah.
They're playing with more confidence, more swagger. They got a system in place that's built for sustained success.
Maybe all they need is that one breakthrough moment, that one signature win to truly ignite their program. And what better opponent to target than the team that has dominated them for so long?
It's a compelling narrative, isn't it? The underdog rising up to slay the giant. It's a story that's captivated sports fans for centuries, and it's one that could very well play out in the future of this rivalry.
I think you've hit on something really important here. It's not just about the wins and losses. It's about the stories we tell ourselves, the narratives that give meaning to these games. And in this case, with the Indiana-Ohio State rivalry, there's this sense that the story isn't finished yet.
It's not over.
There's still a chapter waiting to be written.
Who knows what that chapter will hold? Maybe it's a story of continued dominance for Ohio State. Maybe it's a tale of redemption for Indiana, a moment where they finally rewrite the script and claim their place among the elite.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it all unfolds. But one thing is for sure, this Indiana-Ohio State rivalry, it's alive and well.
It's alive.
It's a matchup that's filled with history, passion, a healthy dose of that Midwestern grit. And that's why no matter what the records say, no matter how many times one team's dominated the other, this game will always matter. It's going to capture our imaginations and remind us why we love college football.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've gone deep into the history, the strategies, the cultural significance of this rivalry. Hopefully, we've given you, the listener, a deeper appreciation for what makes this matchup so special.
I always say the best deep dives leave you with more questions than answers. And as we wrap up our exploration of the Indiana-Ohio State rivalry, I'm left wondering, what will that next chapter hold? Will we see Indiana finally break through and reclaim that long-lost victory? Or will Ohio State just continue to assert their dominance? Only time will tell, but one thing's for certain. This rivalry will continue to captivate us, surprise us, and remind us why college football is such a beloved sport.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another exploration of this fascinating world of sports.
Today is your lucky day. Today is the day that our $3 website works for you, paying you directly to your PayPal daily. Imagine $3 ongoing continuous payments to your PayPal account. Imagine falling asleep and waking up to $300 in your PayPal account. How would this make you feel? How could this help you? What bills could you pay? What kind of fun could you have? What does that retirement look like now? All for a one-time payment of $3. This website is DFY done for you, fully built and completely hosted, and never stops collecting payments for you. You have spent $3 on coffee on a regular, but that coffee won't help you create multiple streams of income. Click the link below.